Hello again. Now, Jose Mourinho has revealed he's signed a contract to succeed Sir Alex Ferguson as the Manchester United manager in 2013, only to back out of the deal and return to Chelsea. United haven't won it since. Would that have been different, though? Yeah, lots of what-ifs regarding Mourinho and United. Now, we've tried to add a transfer twist to this by going back to 2013 and look at what United did under David Moyes and compare it to what Chelsea did under Mourinho. So, Ben, United were champions, Sir Alex had gone. What did David Moyes do in the window?
Well, he tried to sign Leighton Baines. That didn't work, if you remember. And actually, it wasn't a very productive time for Manchester United. You remember they had lots of targets. They failed to get a lot of targets. The one player that came in the summer eventually was Marouane Fellaini. Now, remember the story about that was he had a release clause to a certain point. It actually went up. United ended up paying more than his release clause in the end to get him over the line. And then in the January, they signed Juan Mata from Chelsea to bring him in for, well, you sit there, £37.1 million. Two bits of business. Maybe, if the special one was at Manchester United, it might have been a little bit different.
Remember that? Mata coming in on a helicopter? Doesn't happen these days. Right, OK, so you've teased it for James. Mourinho at Chelsea, tell us what he did.
And this was his second spell at Chelsea, very active in that transfer window, spending a huge amount of money, considering this is 12 years ago, what they did in that transfer window. And actually, this formed the spine of the side that went on to be really successful and win the Premier League. No, Mohamed Salah there didn't play a huge amount for Chelsea, but we know what he went on to do at Liverpool. Nemanja Matic eventually went to Manchester United, eventually further down the line for around £50 million. Jose Mourinho brought him to Manchester United. Willian was a player who had so much success. Kurt Zouma, a really important centre-back, and Samuel Eto'o as well played his part in them lifting silverware. And in terms of the following summer, we can look at what they did under Jose Mourinho as well. Again, spending some serious money in that transfer window as well. A number of these players went on to have real success. Didier Drogba coming back to the football club after being so successful in his first spell. Cesc Fabregas, I highlight a name there, and we highlight that name because actually that is a player that Manchester United were looking to sign the season that David Moyes took charge. It was such a disappointing summer, as Ben has alluded to, for Manchester United. Gareth Bale was a player they looked at. Cesc Fabregas was a player. Thiago was somebody they wanted to sign. They even looked at trying to re-sign Cristiano Ronaldo. And you just wonder, in hindsight, if Jose Mourinho was given the Manchester United job and he did take charge, whether he'd have let what happened to David Moyes happen to him.
I've got two words for you. The Glazers.
Yes, that is true. And it was a period of instability for Manchester United because David Gill left the football club as well alongside Alex Ferguson. They weren't quite sure what to do in that transfer window, but they didn't go wholeheartedly behind David Moyes. And you'd think they would have done, considering what Jose Mourinho had won with respect to David Moyes up until that point. And it felt a summer whereby Manchester United missed out on a lot of targets. David Moyes should have been given more time. Looking at it now, he lasted 8 months. And when you consider where they finished in the Premier League that season, it isn't as bad as we've seen some clubs finish. It's not as bad as we've seen Chelsea finish in some of the recent seasons under some of their managers. But you just wonder what would have happened, whether we'd have this period now where Manchester United haven't won a Premier League title since 2013, whether if Jose did come in immediately after Sir Alex Ferguson, whether they'd have been able to continue that success, because clearly it's been a long time since United have come close to even challenging for the Premier League, let alone winning it.
James, it's something Barcelona interested. Are they going to come back in?
You would imagine so, given they want him. But right now, from a City perspective, certainly, it's about wait and see, because the offer that did come in was well below their valuation, to the point where it was described to me today as being a effectively derisory offer because it's not even a basis for negotiations. It was so low. So as far as City are concerned, there are no negotiations ongoing. The fee or the bid was rejected. Now, we know that Barcelona have been looking at in the region of 35, 40 million pounds. We know that Real Madrid were initially talking around 50 million pounds. Well, from a City point of view, while they're not putting a valuation on what they'd want to sell Rodri in this window, Spanish World Cup winner, showed how incredibly important he was, showed himself back to form as well, which after a couple of years of some big injuries, we did wonder whether we'd ever see the consistency in Rodri again. I think he's proved to everyone in the world, he was named the world's best player at the World Cup, wasn't he, that he can play at the level again. From a City point of view, it's going to take a lot more than that for him to move in the window.
Are City preparing a replacement if he's to go?
Well, The City strategy, I'm told, they're very relaxed about how things are going. They feel they're in control of this rebuild. Now, we've seen evidence of the way they've tried to, for example, reduce the average age of the squad in recent windows. We saw them bring forward, for example, summer transfer plans in January when required to bring in Mark Gahey, Antoine Semenyo. They were players they would have been looking at in this window had they not got them in that unusual January window last year. So they think they're on course. In terms of a direct replacement for Rodri and all players who might leave in this window, City telling me quite clearly they have a plan. Whilst they might not definitely replace every player that leaves, the expectation is they're ready to replace any player that leaves in this window. So let's assume then Rodri does depart. Ayoub Boadi seems like the ready-made replacement. Now, he's a anyway, so that's not an issue with this deal. It's about the clubs continuing to have those talks, and obviously, if Rodri goes, it would leave a massive hole. We'll talk about Salah leaving Liverpool. Rodri leaving Man City would leave an almighty hole. Boadi would just help start to fill that.
Right, City fans want to know, is Tijjani Reinders going? Is Nico Gonzalez going?
Well, a lot depends on this man, Enzo Maresca, of course, because they've been away. They literally landed back the squad that were away in the Far East on playing those pre-season games in Hong Kong and in South Korea. They landed back this morning. Now, Maresca himself has obviously taken a good look at the squad by this point. Now, whilst the likes of Nico Gonzalez, for example, said that he said he was happy at City. He said that actually he wants to stay and fight for his first team place. I think there's an understanding that someone like Nico Gonzalez, if a bid comes in, could still leave in this window. Maybe not. Reinders is a more interesting one because we know there's interest from Nottingham Forest in him. We know that he would command a substantial fee. City would almost certainly make a profit on the player they signed a year ago. And if Reinders does move, he's a player I feel City would try and replace in this window. Now, there's been lots of names thrown around. Enzo Fernandez is the one that's really pricked the interest because, of course, Chelsea bought him for more than £100 million. He's made no secret of the fact that he'd be open to a move. Enzo Maresca's made no secret of the fact he admires the player. Well, City have looked at him. He's certainly someone that they're interested in if a spot in the squad becomes available. You'd say commanding a fee like they might for Reinders, north of £50 million. Well, all of a sudden, it's the sort of money coming in that might just unlock the finances to bring someone as big a signing as Enzo Fernandez in this window.
So, Maresca knows him. He also knows Pedro Neto. A lot of chat that perhaps Neto's going to City. What's your understanding?
Well, my understanding is that, yes, there was a lot of chat, but it's not true. City are not interested in signing Pedro Neto in this window. Now, look, as with all these things, they come with a big caveat. Things could change because you're right, Maresca loves Pedro Neto. He played him a heck of a lot when he was at Chelsea. I think he was the only ever present in the season, wasn't he? So he obviously likes what he brings. It doesn't feel as though he's a player that City are trying to sign in this window, though.
Are City still actively trying to get rid of Marmoush and Savinho?
I think they're relaxed about it. I wouldn't say they're actively trying to get rid of either. I think there's an acceptance with both players that both players feel they want to play first-team football. I think this quote says it all, doesn't it, on Omar Marmoush. It doesn't mean that he isn't going to play more minutes here, but it's also his decision and he needs to decide. And crucially, actually, as a part of this quote and the answer from the press conference from Enzo Maresca is when he said he likened the situation to James Trafford. Now, we saw what happened with Trafford. Essentially, he said, I want to be playing first-team football. An offer came in and ultimately the player was allowed to leave. Well, Omar Marmoush, it feels as though he's been told what his position in the City squad will look like. Again, it's a very difficult position to play. Second fiddle or understudy to the great Erling Haaland. Well, Haaland's not going anywhere. So short of Haaland being injured, Marmoush is going to have mitigated minutes unless he looks at a move elsewhere. But it's worth pointing out on both Savinho and Marmoush, no bid has come in. Certainly no interest has been firmed up in terms of a bid that City would deem to be acceptable. So as it stands, both players very much part of City's first team plans going into the new season.
How difficult is it to get a number two for Erling Haaland? We've seen it before. We've seen Alvarez not fancy it and go. Marmoush doesn't like it, obviously. How difficult is it to get a quality player who's prepared to go, do you know what, he's number one, but I'll do the job when I'm required to?
Well, we saw this exact situation play out at Tottenham, didn't we, over so many years when Harry Kane was clearly the number one. And Tottenham really struggled to find anyone who was willing to come to the club, who was of the calibre when Kane was either unfit or needed to come off to play at a similar level, but ultimately knew they were second fiddle. Strikers, understandably, have big egos. They like scoring the goals. They like being on the pitch. I think for Omar Mamouche, it's a similar situation. But of course, Erling Haaland showed at the World Cup just why he's such a fantastic.
Fireworks, no question. And what you need, no question, when you're following a club legend, you need a massive personality, somebody who's going to come in there and tear the place apart, which goes against all the things you're supposed to do. It would have been incredible. But I get it. I understand the emotional pull of Chelsea, like he's gone back to Real Madrid now as well. But what a ride. We just don't know, do we? What we might... I think it would have been either an amazing success or an absolute car crash of a failure. I can't see anybody at the end of the first season, if he followed Fergie, them saying, yeah, he's done OK, he's not a bad guy. He's either hero or zero for me.
Yeah, I think it would have definitely just put a stopgap in some of the ailments we've seen in Manchester United. You think of how many years it's taken, and we still haven't gotten confirmation on, is Michael Carrick the right guy? We'll find that answer out this season to take United for years and years to come. But you think of how many different managers United have had. The profile of managers, Louis van Gaal came in, won an FA Cup, but it took going through David Moyes to get to Louis van Gaal, and Louis van Gaal to get to the next guy, to get to Ole, to get to Ralf Rangnick, and the billions that have been spent. So, look, revisionist history, I think this would have been the best suited manager to take over Manchester United, but, you know, it's credit to his loyalty to Chelsea that he didn't do it.
It's an easy bone to throw the fans. I rejected Manchester United to take over Fergie. Of course, they probably approached him, and he said no because Chelsea was easier for him.
Or equally, he could have come to his senses and thought, forget that. Following a legend, I'm on a hide into nothing here.
Yeah.
As soon as Fergie leaves, the place will fall apart.
Right. Well,
Thanks, but no thanks.
I think the long list of managers that haven't been able to not even get close to Fergie since he's left speaks more to the truth of Manchester United than doing this revisionist history. Oh, Mourinho would have changed the course. Mourinho ended up going there anyway, and you needed him to be the same strong man that he would have been had he taken over immediately after Ferguson. And he won a Europa League. I think he was one of the better Manchester United managers in that time. But it just comes to show you that Manchester United was institutionally at fault.
Mourinho said one of his greatest ever achievements in football was getting United to second place.
Yeah.
All the trophies he won, dragging them into second. I can't wait for the documentary, although there might be some old interviews in there. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.